Good evening, Seekers. This is Black Pope Vice. I am back again. I am quite tired, but I had to make this video. This is going to be a very short lecture. I've been thinking a lot about various lectures, and there's going to be a string of them upcoming soon. They're not going to be as long. I hope they're not as long as the previous two, which were about 30 minutes each. I'm hoping this one isn't going to be more than 10 minutes long. But the topic for this video is two topics. I am going to talk about candle magic, but I'm also going to talk about grifting. Yes, it is that time. It is the time for grifting. But this is a free pay period. I'm kidding, it's not a free pay period. I haven't set up any financial shit yet, so there's not going to be grifting for a while. But I do want to show off. Candle magic for a while. And how do I do this? How do I show off candle magic? Well, you participate in the benefits. And, when I designate people who are to be affected when I do candle magic these days, I have 5 different designated groups. 4 of them are rather ambiguous but morally based. And there's not much you can do. Those people are going to be blessed regardless. But to get the 5th and final, but they're not, what's the word? They're not these 4 previous classes do not compound. Unlike the second one, the 5th one. The 5th one can compound with any of the previous top 4 categories. But the 5th one has to do with the designation of being recognized under, I guess, quote unquote, my Wunyo, which is a banner or signal of friendship. So basically, to connect to the magical operations, and by the way, I've been doing candle magic since the 3rd day after the new moon. So since the new moon's on the 2nd. So since the 5th, it was a Friday, which is Venus's day. My first experience with candle magic was with Venus, and it was a very magical experience. And for people who... But let's get into kind of the functions of what candle magic is before I continue talking about the group benefit stuff. So what is candle magic? So it's very interesting when people think of magic being good or bad, when most of the time magical operations are essentially they're prayers with some fanfare. Now, when we talk about the Catholics pray to saints, they pray to angels. This is equivalent to other systems, other mysteries, where they have various assortments of dichotomies and of different entities and different polarities, whether it being angelic, demonic, asura, diva, Aesir versus Thurs, etc. Now, that's what prayers are. Prayers are essentially the major form of magic. Now, so people are already engaging in this stuff. So, in many ways, these people who have and then there's, evangelical prayer warriors. I mean, what do they really think they're doing? So silly. Now, the Roman Catholic tradition has the use of candles, but with candle magic, it's a way of putting a lot of intentions and symbols that have correspondent meanings into one unit that is essentially a prayer unit. Now, when I was really into candle magic, which, not to say that I'm not really into candle magic now or better, but I used to do multiple candles at once and watch, light them at the same time, and certain candles meant certain things in a magical operation, like different people and different, or specific effects or different deities and things like that. And when they would, at a certain point, usually an hour or two, sometimes 30 minutes into, after the lighting, the wax will begin to flow in certain ways that will have intelligent symbolic correspondences, and you can, you can view, what's going on with the wax and be like, oh wow, I see what's going to happen, and then you can correspond it later to events that happen in real life. To give an example, Venus is good for, getting wealth and dealing with relationships. And I don't just mean, romantic ones, but mending relationships. I mean, most people, when it comes to magic, or really folk religion, they're going to want riches, they're going to want health, and they're going to want to deal with their friends. Maybe sometimes victory in battle. The Vedas deal with this kind of stuff. That's why the Vedas are so interesting. That's why the Vedas are so potent, is because they really give... Sorry, my selfie thing snapped, and I don't want to hold the phone with my hand because it damages my hand chakras. So I have this thing that helps me have free hands, but be able to hold it up. I know it's a spectacle, but it's the dinner and the show. So what can I say? You guys have to just fucking put up with it. I'm not gonna be talking too much longer because I'm kind of halfway done with the video at this point, at almost 10 minutes in. So, yeah, but I don't have the money, which I will allude to later, but I don't have the money to afford doing massive bunches at once. Not to say that it's not really that expensive if you especially buy in bulk. If you go on Amazon right now, you can get 10 sets of 72 different color candles for like $230, $250, including shipping. That's a lot. That's a lot. Even if you were doing multiple operations in a day, because you're not going to do, even if you're doing operations from what I would say the observation period, which is 3 days after and 3 days before a new moon, you only have so many things you could the average person could possibly do within that time. Someone like me who's doing group blessings almost every day, I mean, I benefit from the blessings, but they, I'm a river to my people. So I'm going to be doing these more, but for the average person, they can. It's very economical even to buy that bunch of them, but you don't need to do tons of them. You can do it with one. I think it's just cooler to do with multiple because A, it is visually more appealing. It's eye candy, especially if you're teaching people or you want to encourage the growth of imagination of children, which is very, very important. If just thinking about if you're going to do magic with children, just think about how you can do it in a way that is conductive to their growth. But you can do it with one candle. You only need one. But with the candle, I use rune staff to ascribe meaning and context. Elder Fugarth, so it's 24 characters to a candle, and I'll give specific intentions and stuff. I also use astrological symbols, and then I'll use rune stabs in different ways to correspond to different things. Like, for instance, if I wanted to depict Christ, I would do Solio Tioaz. Even though there probably should be an Uruz in there, I usually like to use 3, but I've been using Solio Tioaz for a very long time. I might change it up. Why? Even though Solio Tioaz is effective and has been effective, the effectiveness is not necessarily how I feel, but how I feel about what you are presenting as an offering to an entity, the entities involved. I left this candle out in the car, it melted, but I'm going to do something for Tuesday. This is why I'm wearing red, this is why the candle's red. It's Mars Day. I will be fair and open and honest and transparent that I have not always been on the best terms with Mars. But I do feel like leaving this candle out in the car was a little bit lazy. But when I go in it's kind of a phallic shape. It kind of looks like a penis, and that kind of looks like a lingam. So I took this as a sign that my current actions with the candles, the routine, the rigor, like going to bury them and doing them and stuff, is something that Mars has been pleased by, even though I've forgotten something. But the gods nurture us. These beings nurture us, and they wish us to grow, and they are our spiritual parents. So they're going to want to, they'll be like, yeah, you're doing well, but you just messed up, but it's okay. Just remember you're doing good. And I want you to remember that. You're doing good. If you're watching this, you are in the 1%. In terms of the spiritual realm, in my opinion. Even if you don't like my ideas on things, the fact you're just seeking such niche things is really profound. And it says a lot about where you have been before. So, enough of Eternal Return. We're going to talk about the candles. Now, So they're prayers, and prayers in themselves don't really have an offering, but with candle magic you can do offerings. Sacrifice is always great. For me, I used to sacrifice a lot in terms of like being very consistent. I haven't as much lately, and I still get results, but I feel there's various reasons for this happening. But I feel it comes down to a idea of technique. So I'll give you an example how I structure it. When I begin carving on a candle, I'll carve my name, symbols designating me. Then I'll have an alehouse, and the 3 brackets of the alehouse, kind of looking like this. The Fehu will be in the middle, meaning blessings. Hagalas on the left, meaning protection. And 4 Wunyos on the right, representing joy, friendship, artistic endeavors, and magical items. Now, why do I do this? Well, I thought about this matrix and what do things want? What do things like? Well, they want people, things, entities are going to be cooperative if they know you as an entity are going to give them your blessing, your protection, and when you can, these types of gifts. These 4 different windows. Joy, friendship, artistic objects, and magical enchantments. These are gifts, and in Hagalas, how do you protect a god? Well, you honor them. Like, you don't let people trash talk the gods. You can trash talk the gods, but that's more of like a very specific warlike attack rather than kind of a casual thing, which is what you're supposed to be doing. Is like hey, no, trash talking. But blessings also count as just kind of positive thoughts and vibes. Like, oh, send me your vibes. It's like, send me your good intentions, send me your good feels. The gods like that. The gods love love. They love intention. You don't have to. I think there's a difference between worship and then like, oh yeah, I'm sending you my love. Come on. I can see how someone could make an argument that sending something, a hyperdimensional entity, your love, is the same thing as worship, and I'd be like, fuck you, nerd. And that's my argument about that. But let's get back to the practical shit rather than splitting hairs. So, after the Fehu, you put another alehouse above it, and that is to the entities you are wishing to discuss, do business with. And the center of the alehouse, I put Christ, solely what he was. And I relate, and I talk about this in the Golden Sun video about golden and black solar symbolism video about the nature of the Vedas as, I forget its name, but basically the premise is that there's a recognition of multiple deities, but when you do the ritual, you are invoking the deity, one deity, in a way that is the primary deity. It's solopism. We have to recognize reality as solopist, in a way. Not because you or I are the Neo that creates reality, but rather because of the rules of reality in which things have to be constructed in a certain way that are more ideal than others in regarding to the experiment of love and freedom that Christ gave us. To certain rules have to be a certain way. This is why you'll read in Hindu texts about self with a capital S. This is where the salopism comes in. This is where you hear about crazy people saying, I am God, is because they are tapping into this primordial perspective. And, that's fun to tap into, but at the same time, there's a reason why we have an ego. Because it's healthier to have an ego than to be, tap into, that energy state of power. I mean, if you were meant to be that state of power, you wouldn't have a human body. You would be in that state of power. No, you are a God cell, not a God soul. As a human, you are a God cell, not a God soul. Which is, I think, the best way I can differentiate it. But that's how Christ ultimately comes into power. Is ultimately he has, the system where anyone can really tap into the mirror, but he's got the master key. Now, that's the top of the alehouse. Now you want the next one on the left side. You're gonna want Mercury. It's always good to have Mercury because it allows communication to happen, but also secrecy. And there's countermeasures to prevent people from countering your countermeasures, but I'm just going to give you an idea of what to do to keep your communication safe. So the symbol AWAS, which looks like an M, AWAS, but it's really E, plus Bracano, which looks like a B. When you impose them together, you combine them together, it's called a bind rune. It creates the bind rune Bracanoise. The Bracanoise is a way of creating secret communication. So the AWAS, this part of the AWAS, is where the Bracano bar is before the titties come out. Because the B's in Bracano represent the breasts of the earth. Bracano means secret, and AWAS is communicate. So you give Mercury. So you carve the astrological symbol for Mercury, and you'll give it a Bracanoise, and you put it next to it. And then usually you put on the right side, usually the god of the day. Sometimes you'll put in the Roman one, sometimes you'll put in the Norse one. And you can also put your own, it doesn't, whatever you want, I'm not going to limit you. This is already 23 minutes. Let's finish up. So, then you'll do the designations for who the magic's going to affect. And the way I like to separate them is Fehu Yira. So, in the first column, the first bar of information, it's your name, the blessings, the protection, the Wunyo, and the other alehouse offering it to the hyperdimensional entities you wish to do business with, including Christ. Then, to split that column, you add Fehu and then Yira. Then you add the people who want to affect, then another Fehu and then Yira, and then you want to do the magical effects. And with Elder Fukarth Rune Staff, you can do a lot in describing what you want. You do a lot. I've never had an issue with manifesting anything I wanted through candle magic. It came one way or another. So, you can do a lot with candle magic. And I'm going to be doing a lot for you guys. So, what do? If you were not really interested in doing candle magic yourself, and, it's a little expensive, and, when you buy one candle by itself, this one was $249. I'm hoping that when I get my donation stuff set up, that I could basically get candles and things like that subsidized, so I don't have to pay out of pocket. I'm hoping that you guys will like hopping on to the group Magick effect and be like, yeah, I'm enjoying these protections. I'm enjoying the mending of friendships. I'm enjoying getting the coochie. I'm enjoying getting more money. And I think, every time I watch a video, it's worth $2 of my time. Especially when I know that, in a month, in the lunar cycle period, he's going to do 15 spells that are going to affect me. And each candle's going to be, what, $2.50? If I'm buying one at a time, if I save up and get a bunch at once, that's going to change things in terms of effect, but it will save money. But that's not really what's important. What is important is you guys getting the effects, because I feel when your lives start improving in a way because you're like tapping into this mystical opulence that I am just sharing out, like I'm just sharing, I'm giving it away, that you'll be like, oh yeah, $2 every 2 weeks, nothing. Because in an ideal system, we could be able to support each other very minimally, with minimal interaction, because we're all holding each other up. But that's, communist propaganda bullshit that has nothing to do with magic, and I'd rather not talk about politics. I'd rather not talk about how I think we should have picnics every day, even though our society can clearly afford such a luxury. And the luxury not to have a picnic every day, because I sometimes want to, not have a picnic every day. Sometimes I want to work multiple days in a row, because, I'm a workaholic. And that's okay too. But I think together, as I've expressed in other videos, we can change the world. Why? I can do so much with my magic affecting myself. But what if I had 1,000 people in various positions of life, and they're having benefits from my magic that give them protections, increase their wealth, increase their power to influence and interact? How is that changing society? How much is that influencing things? That's an army, just a modern army, a different kind of army, but an army of ideas. This is how we change things, because we are not allowed to change things in the cool way. We have to be slow, and this is more eternal return moments, but you'll like this. If you are into believing the Golden Age and the Silver Age and the Bronze Age and the Iron Age, our forefathers in the previous ages probably spent great deals of time in some sort of activity that would make it more beneficial for their descendants to interact in the Iron Age. As a result of such dedication, you should respect the privilege you have and do something with the talent you have and the knowledge you are clearly capable of finding and putting to good use. That is all, Seekers. Oh, yes, so just, just try to attach to my Wunyo, my banner. It looks like a P. Wunyo. But yeah, just energetically identify with the idea that I have candle magic that I'm willing to share with my tribe. I'm a warlord, but you can be a warlord too. You're your own warlord in this tribe. But hey, you get blessings, and you're welcome to the club, and I hope you enjoy them. I really want you to do better in life. I want you to enjoy the riches. You should have the mystical opulence. Heaven is for everyone. And that's it. Good night, Seekers. Love you all.